Call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. on November 11th. I'll do a roll call. If you are here, please say here or present. Atagarla. Idvate. Anderson. Bender. Bouma. Brown. Emery. Fahim. Grant. Green. Goff. Gonzalez. Hanyang. Hayes. Hovey. Hurley. Lau. Lewis. Lona. Ludwig.
Here.
Mass.
Here.
Pfeiffer. Rinchi. Simano. Schulte. Simonson. Springer. Stenzel. Stevens. Samuel. Weathers. Young. Zastro. Zavoski. All right, we have quorum. Now go on to Pledge of Allegiance, led by Speaker Ludwig. Thank you. We don't have a program tonight, so we'll go to open forum. Open forum is a time for discussion relevant to students. If you are a student and wish to speak, please approach the lectern and state your name and college of your primary major. All right, seeing none, we'll go to adopting the agenda. Are there any amendments to tonight's agenda? Senator Idvate.
Move to postpone indefinitely. I'm sorry, I cannot see the numbers. Move to postpone indefinitely statement of authority.
There's been a motion to postpone indefinitely Bill 2020-2-039Y, statement of authority.
Second.
There's been a second. Is there any objection? If there's no objection, the bill will be killed for the session. Then seeing none, the bill has been postponed indefinitely. Senator Idvate.
Postpone indefinitely 2020-2-040Y.
There's been a motion to postpone indefinitely 2020-2-040Y, removing mentorship program penalties for November 2020.
Second.
There is a second. Any objection? And seeing none, that bill is postponed indefinitely as well. Vice Speaker Gonzalez.
Motion to postpone indefinitely 2020-2-068 SO, removing a senator.
There's been a motion to postpone indefinitely 2020-2-068 SO, removing a senator, and there was a second. Is there any objection? Then hearing no objection, that bill has been postponed indefinitely as well. Senator Zastro.
Just so that we don't run out of time, I'm just going to motion to move 2020-2-064 SO, establishing an election code above light at night by stopping switching around time.
Second. Okay, there's been a motion to move the election code bill to the top of special orders, and there was a second. Is there any objection? Then seeing no objection, that bill has been moved as well.
Motion to adopt this week's agenda.
There's been a motion to adopt the agenda, and there's been a second. Is there any objection? Seeing none, the agenda has been adopted. Moving on to the approval of minutes from last week. Are there any amendments or corrections to last week's minutes? There's been a motion to adopt and a second. Any objection? Then the minutes have been approved as well. We'll move on to committee reports. First is rules with Speaker Ludwig.
There we go. All right, so Rules Committee saw the authority statements bill. We passed that, but obviously we dealt with that in the agenda. We sent favorably the Chapter 17 extension bill, and we had an unofficial vote on the mentor mentee bill that was also set aside today. The other business that we dealt with primarily is the contract report, which should be out by the end of this week. So,
Are there any questions for Rules Committee? Then we'll move on to Finance with Finance Director Class.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Ugh, gross. Hello. So we have 2 debt contracts. The first one is, I can't see the agenda right now, men's basketball. That's a pretty standard one. Ask questions, as I usually tell you to do. The second one is men's ultimate Frisbee. They already have a current working debt contract, and you will notice in the first ordered clause, this gets rid of that previous one and makes this one. That's because we are adding more debt onto it, changing the payment structure and changing the payment amounts. So it's not actually paying out the $5,500 in this payment. It's just an additional $700 of debt. But that's so they can be good standing with SAC, good standing with COA, and be back on track. So again, ask questions about that. And then finally, my big bill for this semester, which is PNC. It's not mine, it's Zastro's. I can't write bills, but I can talk on it now that we've changed those back. So that's the big bill. It dictates how we spend $1.5 million of student fee money. As you saw in my email and multiple emails in the past 2 weeks, please give this the time that it deserves. This is a lot of what we do that's external outside of this room. It's what a lot of people see. So please ask questions. If you have changes you want to make the amendment so we can have that discussion. Don't just say like, hey, maybe we should do this and then put your placard down. Make the motion. We'll talk about it. I'm here. The committee spent the semester doing it. Yes, we like what we've done, but if you want to change it, that's definitely up to you. So please take the time, look through it. I sent it last night. I think I sent it again today. Zastro sent it. I'm going to talk at the beginning of it to say some of the big changes we've made, but please give that the time and seriousness that it deserves. And that is all. Have a great night.
Are there any questions for Finance Committee? Seeing none, we'll go to PR with Outreach Director Krebs.
Hello all. So it's been a busy week for Anna and I, but so our survey regarding COVID-19 and diversity inclusion has been finished. We turned in ad space for the Get Involved booklet. We also had the Residency Fair today from 11 to 2. I heard it went really well. I want to shout out Senator Weathers, Senator Zastro, Senator Green, and Senator Emery, right? Okay, for participating in that. That was awesome. Thank you folks so much. We did student government presentations to Maple, Willow, Larch, and Eaton just this past week. Student government buttons will be here in spring semester, so look for those during our first meeting. We had PR bonding at the Cy Bowl, which was really, really fun. And then I'm working on a CALS outreach project with Senator Rinchi and Devin DeVore. So that's what we're working on. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Public Relations Committee? We'll go to Diversity and Inclusion Committee with President Fritz.
Hi everyone, Director Perk couldn't be here, but she sent me a message to relay, and that's that this Thursday there will be the first series of the Diversity Roundtable at 6 p.m. She emailed the link to the RSVP last week, but she wants to elaborate on one aspect that she thought maybe wasn't clear, which is that the roundtable is meant to be a casual and safe space for students who identify with the roundtable group. So in this case, that's multicultural students, and it's less of a listening session for us as student government members and more as a space reserved for those with multicultural identities, just to be able to accomplish the goal of bringing together people with similar identities, showing them that they have a place in this organization. So with that being said, spread the word about that to your constituents still, and sign up for that if you'd like to be there. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Diversity and Inclusion Committee? We'll go to Student Initiatives with Senator Hovey.
Hi everyone. So I don't know if you guys remember, but back in September I had mentioned something about an indoor seating, some indoor seating maps that we were working on with FP&M. They are finally ready to distribute, which is awesome. FP&M did a great job on them. There are 2 separate maps, one of indoor common area seating and one for like classroom seating. And they have like tables of the specific buildings, the room numbers, and the times that are available on a weekly basis. So it's really awesome. Thank you to FP&M for doing that. And the last update I have is possibly meeting with student counseling services tomorrow at our committee meeting to see if there's anything we can help them improve for next semester. So yeah, That's it. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Student Initiatives Committee? We'll go to Civic Engagement with Senator Samuel.
Yeah, nothing new to report this week.
All right. And then if there's no questions, we'll go to comments from the Executive Branch. President Fritz.
Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. So the first note is that it is Veterans Day, so I'd just like to take a moment to appreciate, both the students at Iowa State and student government members who have served our country. We appreciate your service and dedication to the United States, so thank you for that. We had our last cabinet meeting of the semester on Sunday, and we plan on meeting virtually a few times over break. So that being said, if any of you have any questions or ideas that you'd like to pursue for projects in the spring, please set up a meeting with me over break. I would love to chat with that, about that with you. Treasurer Ruley and I also met with University Human Resources to discuss long-term asset funding considerations for university childcare, and that opened up some new topics to consider for students and their parents, because we have to remember that there are all different types of students at this university, and that's one that maybe we could focus on a bit more. Vice President Schrader and I also met with President Drew Gurris and Vice President Alyssa Rodriguez from the Student Union Board to discuss making the Sub and StuGov movie during the fall a tradition. And so we set up plans to pass on to the following executive boards for each of our respective organizations. President's Council had a meeting this morning where President Winterstein and other university administrators shared presentations primarily on COVID, mental health, and student wellness. We also had a meeting for the Special Student Fee Committee where Vice President Schrader, Finance Director Class, and Senator Mass attended the Fee Committee meeting where we heard presentations from Athletics, Rec Services, and Student Health and Wellness. We had a meeting, Vice President Schrader and I had a meeting with President Winterstein and GPSS to discuss COVID response, club and organization activities next semester, and other university events that are going on. Finally, be sure to submit comments on the renaming policy. I've included a link there. I've also included the diversity roundtable link in my executive update. And Director Seth has been working on various recycling initiatives, so check out Instagram this week to see how to advocate for recycling, along with a virtual recycling forum this Friday from 1 to 2:15. And that's all. Thank you, and I hope you guys do well on semester tests and have a great holiday season with your families. Thank you.
Are there any questions for President Fritz? All right, seeing none, we'll go into external matters. Then external matters 2020-2-065 SA Men's Basketball Club debt contract with Senator Zastro.
Yeah, so if the club wants to head up to the podium. So I'll talk just a little bit about this. This is a pretty standard contract. They are currently in debt because previous treasurers didn't quite have everything set all right, and they are looking to be able to continue to get funding through student government. So do you just want to talk about your club, how you got in this situation, and what your plans are to get out of it?
Yeah, so I took over as president last spring. The previous president had graduated in the fall, and then I was informed that there was a bunch of misspent money, I think about $400, and that a parent had bought hotels and stuff, which I wasn't aware of. So our plan moving forward is we're gonna have tryouts in the spring once we come back from break, and then we're planning on hosting a 3v3 tourney, which should raise around $500 for all students. And then, yeah, that's our plan from here.
Yep, so like I said, this is a pretty standard contract, so I'll yield for any questions.
All right, so we're in the general discussion period of the debate. Please raise your placards if you have a question or a point of debate. It's been a call to question and a second. Is there any objection? All right, then seeing no objection, Senator Zastro, do you want to close the statement?
No thanks.
Then we'll do a roll call vote. When I call your name, please say yes, no, or abstain. Advait. Anderson. Bender. Bouma. Brown. Emery. Fahim. Grant. Green. Goff. Gonzalez. Hanyang. Hayes. Hovey. Hurley. Lau. Lewis. Lona. Ludwig. Mass. Pfeiffer. Rinchi, Simano, Schulte, Simonson, Springer, Stenzel, Stevens, Samuel, Weathers, Young, Zastro, Zavoski. Okay. Then with a vote of 33 to 0, this funding, or this debt contract is approved. We will now move on to 2020-2-066 SA Men's Ultimate Frisbee Club debt contract, also with Senator Zastro.
So, similar situation. So this is a little different from a normal debt contract. For this club, they already had an existing debt contract with us that we granted them, I believe, last year. Since then, they have accrued more debt because they weren't able, because of basically COVID-related situation. So what they're hoping to do now is basically add on to the existing contract, but it would be much easier just to write them an entirely new one. So do you guys just want to talk about the situation?
Yeah, so essentially we made the national tournament for Ultimate Frisbee a couple years ago, spring 2019, and had some issues with our treasurer and how we manage the funds from the budget, and not expecting to make the tournament, didn't have it in the budget, so didn't have the proper line items in that to properly use the funds that we were allocated. So from here on out, our plans to make up that money are to take a larger cut from the football and basketball games that we traditionally volunteer at to fundraise, and put a larger cut of that into the club fund to take away from this debt, as well as dues that we have each semester totaling about $1,200 to $1,000 to $1,200 per semester, and fundraising through ISU Foundation with their Fund ISU program.
Awesome, thank you for sharing. I will yield.
Senator Weathers.
Yeah, I have a question for Senator Zastro, or if you're unable to answer it, I can direct it to the finance director. But is it very common to add on to a previously existing debt contract?
It's not something that I remember having done in my year and a half in Senate, but I mean, there's a first for everything, and because the extra debt that they accrued isn't the fault of,
I'll direct the same question to the finance director.
Yeah, so it's not typically common, but we did see 2 amendments, and that's what this essentially is. It was just going to be a very messy amendment, so I'm just making a new contract. It's not typical. We like when clubs, get a debt contract moving forward, but obviously with COVID, things were very different, and this club did do a lot better this year. We're seeing a lot of progress. Talked with COA, and they're very, we had a whole meeting with their whole leadership, me and COA, so we're all kind of on the same page now, and we're looking forward to not having to amend this anymore, and this should be good going forward. But no, it is not typical, but it is possible.
But you don't have any concerns that this will have to happen again in the future?
No, I think we've talked to them a lot, and they've been very receptive, and I'm looking forward to working with them.
Okay, I yield. Thank you.
Senator Stenzel.
Hi, just a couple of questions. So maybe apologies if I wasn't following correctly, but you didn't plan on going to nationals, and then you went to nationals, and that was the first hiccup. What was the second hiccup?
Okay, so second hiccup being why we're adding this more money to the debt contract.
Correct.
So we had issues with a previous treasurer and communication about this debt contract that we had with our current leadership team. So we had issues knowing, first off, about the debt contract and also how we would pay for it. And so when working with Finance Committee, I think this is the resolution we came to have our current executive team and the people that will be tasked with dealing with this in the future be able to make the payments in the future, and everyone know about it and how we're going to move forward.
Cool. So are you the new treasurer?
I'm the current president. This is our current treasurer.
Okay, awesome. And then could you go over what your plans were to fundraise again? Because I missed a couple.
Yeah, of course. So we typically do a lot of fundraising at football games, running concession stands, and typically we split up the money made and divvy it out to different students that participated so they can pay for jerseys and tournaments and stuff, we would take a bigger cut out of that to the club fund to put money towards that, as well as using the dues that we usually have and the program Fund ISU, which is essentially like a crowdsourcing program through the foundation, which would be a good way for us to get money from alumni as well.
Okay. What? So with the football concession stands, you don't receive. How does that work? Where's the rest of the money go? You said you're going to take a bigger cut. Where does the rest of the cut go?
So what we've traditionally done is it's like kind of hard to explain. It's a bit complicated. It's a bank program where the members of our club that participate each week in the concession stand the money raised is split up between them and kind of put into like a account that they have with the club, and then they can use that to pay for the money or for jerseys, tournaments, whatever, dues, stuff like that.
So that's kind of like personal money that they earn.
Yeah.
And then it's routed to pay dues.
They can use it to pay dues.
Okay, so I think that's where my confusion's coming from, because it seems like you're just kind of going in a circle. Like you're taking more.
Sure.
Okay.
Because we don't have opportunities for them to fundraise.
Understood. Okay. I think I got my questions answered. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Senator Rinchie.
How long do you think it'll take you to be able to pay back these funds? Several years, or how many?
So we currently have it set at 8 payments at about $700 per semester.
Okay, so because that will go on longer than your term as president or probably
Mhm.
yours as treasurer, what's your plan to continue having everything well maintained so this does get paid down and you're able to operate regularly in the future?
Right. So 2 of the people on our exec committee that were in the meeting that was mentioned earlier are sophomores currently, so they have the knowledge about the situation that we're in, and we're also will be included.
Awesome, I appreciate it. Thank you.
It's been a call to question. Was there a second? Second, any objection to voting on the bill now? Then Senator Zastrow. All right, then we will go to a roll call vote. Please say yes, no, or abstain when I call your name. Invade. Yes. Anderson. Yes. Bender. Yes. Buma. Yes. Brown. Yes. Emery. Yes. Fahim. Yes. Grant. Yes. Green. Yes. Goff. Yes. Gonzalez. Yes. Hanyan. Yes. Hayes. Yes. Hovey. Yes. Hurley. Yes. Lau. Lewis. Yes. Lona. Ludwig. Yes. Mass. Yes. Pfeiffer. Yes. Rinchie. Yes. Simano.